than if you listen to her, you see. Very funny, really, but that's because of the misunderstanding, you see. However, we listened very carefully, and she used to say to us that we would do the sort of work, or similar work, that she was doing in our lifetimes, which of course we have done. But the main thing that she taught us, I think, was to open our minds and think for ourselves, not to be led by dogma or creed, not to be told what we have to believe, but to have an open mind on everything. And so in a way she did a great service to us, I believe, because she in a way led us into spiritualism as we know it today. We were in show business for many, many years, entertaining all around the world. It didn't give us always the opportunity to work with spiritualism as we would have liked in those days. However, we did try to, wherever we were appearing in the world, to find either a spiritualist church or someone who knew something about spiritualism, so that we could sort of keep in with our thoughts. And so we kept it up for many, many years. And then when we decided to walk out of entertainment, and come into a regular way of life, we had then more time to be able to devote to our spiritual work and to the learning and the philosophy of spiritualism. And so we have been connected with spiritualism, I would say now, for over 50 years. Over 50 years.
I was talking about entertainment now. A lot of people these days will recognise spiritualism perhaps with entertainment figures such as John Edward, Colin Fry, which obviously opens a lot of people up to the mediumship. I wonder if you can tell us your views on that, and also if one was to come along to a spiritualist church, what would the service consist of? What would actually occur in that church that evening?
Yes, okay. Can I just take the first part of the question first, with people like John Edwards and other mediums who travel around the country and America and other countries too, giving demonstrations of mediumship in theatres and halls, etc. Can I say that we don't decry this whatsoever in spiritualism? They are giving of a service to people who probably would not think of coming into a spiritualist church. Why? I don't really know, but at least they are giving a service. However, I would say I would like it even more if they devoted just a little time during their demonstrations to give a short talk about the philosophy and the truths of spiritualism, because unfortunately the sort of people that go to these theatres and halls to see mediums such as Gordon Smith, etc., Tony Stockwell, they tend to go for messages. They're what we term message hunters. And they tend to think that the only thing that spiritualism is about messages. So untrue, for the philosophy of spiritualism is the most important part of spiritualism. You see, the philosophy of spiritualism, when a speaker speaks on the philosophy from a platform, from a rostrum, they are affecting every single person in the congregation or audience, whichever you want to call it, because they are touching each one personally. With a message from a medium, they are touching one individual. It doesn't mean to say that the interest from that message won't touch the others. It may do, but the philosophy touches everyone. It gives them a meaning to life, it gives them a direction to life, and it gives them a purpose to life.
Can I just add to that? I mean, I go along with what Jeff says about mediums who perform in theatres. I don't think it's the best way, but it certainly reaches a lot more people than we would find in our churches. And quite often the reason why they go to the theatres is because the word church tends to put a lot of people off, because what it does is it builds up in their minds the thoughts of a grey stone orthodox cold building, and if you look at our church here, it's quite warm really. It has a lovely atmosphere, but because church has always been sort of connected to orthodoxy, that is often the way that people think about it. And of course some of the atrocities that have actually been done in the name of religion, it's a combination of many things. We often wish that the mediums that are taking these demonstrations in theatres, and I know that Colin Fry has done this, would say at the end of their demonstrations, if you've enjoyed the evening, why don't you pop up to your local Spiritualist church where you will get more of the same. In that way, they would not only be doing themselves a favour, but they would be doing the Spiritualist National Union, the organisation, a favour, and bringing people into the places where they should be going, because it isn't an entertainment. You know, this is our government's ruling that it must be seen, if it's done in a theatre, as an entertainment. If I want entertainment, you see, for me, spiritualism is something special. If I want fantasy, I go to Disney World, and I love fantasy. It takes you away from yourself, you become like a little child. But when I want reality, I come to spiritualism.
Can I very briefly just say that spiritualism is a religion that is built on love. There has never ever been a war or an atrocity in the name of spiritualism. And people usually comment when they come into our churches, the feeling of love and peace and tranquility, and the feeling of caring one for the other, because the philosophy teaches us that the brotherhood of man, which is our second principle, tells us that we are all part of one another. As we are part of God, the fatherhood of God, principle number one, then we are intrinsically linked one to the other. We cannot be separated, no matter the colour of our skin, the creed or dogma that we follow. It makes no difference. We are all part of that creative power that we call God.
You see, mediumship, as much as it is condemned by some other religions, brings a comfort and an upliftment to people that very few other religions can do. We get people from all religions and all walks of life who come into our church. When they first come in, of course they're apprehensive because of the nonsense that they see on television or they read in the media. But it's usually, and that it's quite true, when someone has lost a loved one who's very dear to them and they're missing that physical presence. No other religion can give them the comfort and the assurance that their loved ones have survived the physical death and the proof than spiritualism can give. And we give it through mediumship, which is really mind to mind of the medium and the source that is directing that information.
Can I briefly say that spiritualism, as far as other religions are concerned, is the most tested religion in the world. Mediums like Gordon Smith, who is very famous in this country and of course works in America and all over the world, has been tested by Sir Archie Roy, who is a professor at the Scottish Psychical Research Society. Gordon has been tested so much, they have taken him and placed him in another room away from the people that he's going to give the message to, and he has been given messages to people in other rooms who he never seen or knew anything about. And that way, that he couldn't possibly be reading their minds. He's had so many experiments done on him, Gordon Smith, and I doubt whether any other people in other religions would be able to stand up to the scrutiny that spiritualism has to stand up to.
You know, it's very difficult because mediumship is always an experiment. You know, we're often portrayed through silly adverts on the television of sitting around the table holding hands, and the medium says, "Are you there, Uncle George?" And a voice in the distance says, "Yes, I'm here." And then a chocolate bar drops down from the ceiling. How convenient and how funny. But spiritualism doesn't work like that. We cannot call